a little bit longer, but how do you feel you can balance the demand for growth and at the same time preserve the quality of life for the citizens of Post Falls? Things like open spaces, safe drinking water from the Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer. And for this question, we're going to start with Samantha Stigliter, seat 1.
Hi, thank you so much for this question. I love it because I think it's mostly my platform. So, yeah, things are going to come and people are going to want to be in Post Falls and people are going to want to build in Post Falls because it's an amazing place to live. So how can we blame them? However, we really need to look at anything that is a zone change or wants to be annexed in, or companies that want to come in and build, and evaluate what is the benefit to the community right now. It's good to look in the future, and I think we have a lot of great minds doing that, but how do these developments benefit the current residents of Post Falls? And I think using that as our yardstick to balance growth versus some of the negative outcomes of growth is really the best way to keep in mind the people that are most important, which are the residents that live here right now and the residents that are dealing with the growth, dealing with maybe increased traffic times or increased people at Walmart, all of these things that we all do day to day. It's okay, and we love living here, but whenever we have a developer that comes and wants to build more, they really need to prove what's the benefit. Like, how is this going to be beneficial to who we have in the community right now? Down by our State Line Walmart, we have a lot of new things that are coming in that are really great, like a freestanding ER, which I think will serve the community really well because we are a little far away from hospitals here. And then we have some more banks that are going in there, like just really being able to prove how it's going to be beneficial more than saying it will make housing affordable, because as we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, we have built and built and built, and we have not gotten cheaper or cheaper or cheaper. So the supply and demand curve isn't really a good standard for this sort of thing. That is just my heart, really, to advocate for the benefit of the residents that live here currently.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we've got Joe Bodman for seat 5. Go ahead.
I think that the key is to get businesses into the city of Post Falls. Highway 41 with the corridor that's opened up, lots of property going up there. And if we could get some big retail businesses in there, it's going to help with the growth, and it's going to help with wages. And if we can't get the businesses into the city, then we're relying on the tax dollars from the houses and the apartments. And I think we need more business in the city of Post Falls to help us grow and help us with our law enforcement, firefighting, and EMS. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is Sherilyn Town for seat 5.
Hello, everyone. So as far as growth versus outcome, I think it's really important to consider how it's going to affect our year-round residents, holding developers accountable for what they say, and also focusing on business growth. However, it's important to remember that the wages need to match the demand. A big struggle for our residents here are lack of wages that meet what it takes to basically survive month to month. And we have a lot of residents that are just barely doing that, surviving month to month between the housing costs rising beyond reach and the lack of increase in wages. I know you can make $17 an hour at McDonald's, but let's face it, if it's a 2 household member, $36 an hour is still not making the cut these days. It was just less than 5 years ago that we were at a pretty good place here where things were affordable, and it seems like overnight we blinked our eyes and it tripled in cost to live here. And our young people are definitely struggling to stay here. I have 4 children that I raised here who are now raising my grandchildren here. And every day is a struggle for some of them. And they all have fabulous jobs, excellent careers. And it's still a struggle. Only 2 of them are able to stay at home with their children. And that also is a big thing. Back when I moved here in 1990, staying at home with your children was a thing, and it was affordable. And I think we just really need to concentrate on our city and what's going to work best for it and how to allow people to stay here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Joe Malloy for seat 3. Go ahead.
Thank you. Trying to maintain the same quality of life as the city grows is certainly a pretty Herculean task. Fortunately, the city has long-term plans coming out of our ears. We've got the 25-year master plans. We've got the Parks Master Plan, the Wastewater Master Plan, the Water Master Plan, the Public Safety Master Plan, the Multimodal Transportation Master Plans, et cetera, et cetera. And almost all of these look out 20 to 25 years and are reviewed and updated about every 5. The goal is to, as the question implies, is to keep the standard of living, the services roughly the same as the city grows. Of course, that takes money. So funding that, it's my belief that new growth to the greatest extent possible needs to pay for itself. Post Falls charges impact fees on new developments. These impact fees pay for new parks. They pay for large infrastructure projects on the more major arterials. They pay for the police station expansions, equipment, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, do not pay for schools. That's going to require a constitutional amendment to the Idaho State Constitution to get impact fees for schools, although I think that is in the works with the legislature for the next session. Also, too, the state legislature last year limited Idaho City's ability to take full taxes off of new growth and the closure of urban renewal districts, which is somewhat limiting city's ability also to continue to expand services, parks, et cetera, as the city grows. I think hope that's going to be addressed at the state level also coming up the next session or 2. But as a city, I think we've really done a good job trying to stay ahead of the growth. And we purchased the community forest property, which is actually dual purpose. One, to keep up with our EPA permit for the water reclamation facility. We're gonna have to start land applying as the city grows. And so that was purchased for that purpose. And it creates a nice new park, for example. And whenever we purchase more property, we always try to have multiple uses for that property to be the best stewards of the taxpayers' money as we possibly can. That's my time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And then next we have James Stephenson for seat 1. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, this one is a tough one because I think in a way we're a victim of our own success. Everybody wants to move here, so we have to deal with these. But kind of what Joe was saying, the city council is looking at this. There are plans for everything, and all of them do look out 20, 30, 40 years out there. But we kind of have to balance that quality of life. For me, it's really getting new businesses in the area to get that tax revenue that comes in, but not just, we need a mixture of them. You want those entrepreneurs, those small businesses to keep that money here and for the people that live here. But if we could have the bigger companies, maybe within the tech park, maybe those are going to be higher paying jobs that people could get and maybe make those affordable here. But we have to talk about the right type of development and putting things in the right areas, building single family homes in the right area. You need a little bit of mixture of houses, so apartments, tiny homes, cottage homes, whatever it may be. So you got to think of that. To kind of touch base on the prairie and the water and everything, there's open space on the prairie that is going to be preserved. I believe there's roughly 800 acres that is public reserve that the city owns. There's more public reserve land that Hayden owns that the city will own, and they're not planning on building on it. It is actually saved for water reclamation in the long-term plan down the road. But we must really look at what is going to benefit the city as things come through planning and zoning into city council and ultimately make the decisions that are going to be best for the city, not only now, but long term, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. And for me, one of those big things is going to be businesses getting in there. You can kind of see now the 41's done. They're starting some growth over there. The urban renewal district over on Pleasant View, we're going to start seeing stuff there. And then out by State Line and Walmart, they've had a lot of different growth out there that's really started. That area was owned by the same developer for years and years and years, and just recently it started developing. So that's good to see that out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And then finally, we have Randy Westland for seat 5. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think by far the biggest thing we can do to maintain the quality of life here in Post Falls is to encourage local entrepreneurship. We definitely need more jobs in Post Falls because the jobs to housing ratio is about 1.0, which means 1 job per housing unit. And if you think of the number of 2-income families, the number of roommates living together, that's not enough. And so something like half the people in Post Falls work somewhere else. And financially, that doesn't work because most residential areas, they don't generate enough property tax to pay for the maintenance of the streets and the sewers. And we have something like 194 miles of city streets in Post Falls to maintain right now. And it's the commercial areas, it's the entrepreneurship that generates the tax revenue that actually subsidizes the residential areas in the city. And Post Falls is kind of in a dangerous position being a bedroom community for Coeur d'Alene and Spokane. And we need to encourage this, of getting jobs here. But it's not the big box stores, and it's not getting Facebook to put a center here, because what happens when Facebook puts a facility here or some other big tech company is, they have high paying jobs, but who's taking those jobs? It's not local residents. It's tech workers that they import that come with the center. And so what they end up doing is bringing in the facility, and then they bring in the workers, and that drives up the housing prices even more. And then we end up worse than where we left off. So really the key is local businesses. It's people who live here in Post Falls starting their own businesses and kind of bootstrapping their own thing. And I think the ideal economy is one where you have as many people as possible who are either self-employed or working for a local small business, and not the big box stores that come in, because that way you have control of capital and decisions made locally, that profits being reinvested in the community. It's a very healthy pro-social setup. And that's really what we need to have for jobs here.